Hey guys, MCU Collector here with another figure review. Next up is the Hasbro Marvel Legends series, the Retro Iron Man wave, Whiplash. So this is the first villain of the wave that I'm going to take a look at. We got two. There is also Count Nefaria. But we're taking a look at Whiplash in this one. This one's going to be a fun one, right? He's a little colorful. He's got some purple. He's got like some pink cape. He's got some green hair. And he's got a whip going on there. Whiplash was in the Iron Man animated series that the retro card is kind of based on. The figures themselves are not necessarily going to be based on the show. In that show, he wasn't wearing black. He was wearing like a bluish color. In typically animated series, they try to make things a little bit more colorful and whatnot. That's kind of one of the things that they did. But I'm excited for this one because these villains are actually kind of nice. They use good base bodies and things like that. It's a switch up. We get characters that we haven't really gotten before, which is pretty cool. For the retro wave itself, I got my set from toysnowman.com. So link in the video description below. That is my referral code. So if you use that link, set up a new account. New accounts only, first time buyers. You will get a 5% off coupon code in your Frost Rewards. Keep in mind they are based in Canada, but they do ship everywhere. So make sure to check them out. toysnowman.com. They're awesome to work with. Amir, who runs it, he also has a YouTube channel. Make sure to check it out. He's very informative on things. But we're going to take a look at Whiplash here. I love the card back. Love the look of it. Looking on the back of the package, you can see the gimmick is, of course, swapping hands, which I think majority of them are going to be. The bio for Whiplash reads, Whiplash puts his skills as a weapons developer to criminal use, taking his cybernetic whips to battle against Iron Man. Oh, that was it. So there we go. Now let's go ahead and rip this card open and get Whiplash out of the package. Okay, so here is the Whiplash figure out of the package, and he's definitely going to be a fun one, but I do have a couple of concerns with it. The legs don't really go too far apart, and his hands look really small. And I think the problem with that is because the gloves are very large, so it makes his hands look small. But that might just be me, but it looks a little bit weird. We do get a set of grip hands with him so he can hold on to his whip. One of the things, though, is it has the standard horizontal hinge on the grip hands. I think they should have had the vertical hinge because it's a whip, right? But we don't have that, and that's okay. Then we also get a pair of fists. He's got a satchel. Satchel is like the quintessential evil accessory. And then he's got his whip. So this here is just done in this yellow translucent color. That looks pretty good. It's soft, it's pliable, but it is shape formed, so you're not gonna be able to pose it around or anything like that. It's just gonna revert right back to how it's supposed to be. And then the handle of the whip right there just gets a little bit of gold paint. So we have that there. And then I don't know if you want to count his hair as an accessory because you had to peg it into his head. And, you know, it was in the trays if it were a separate accessory, so we do get some swivel motion in there. It ports in there just fine. You do have to give it a little bit of force because, you know, it's a kind of a rubbery piece and the peg hole's a little bit smaller, but it works in there. So let's go ahead now get in for a closer look at Whiplash. Okay, so here is an up-close look at Whiplash. His eyes are just kind of whited out, and then you got digital face print for, like, kind of the lips. And there's a little bit of coloring kind of throughout the skin tone. If you, like, in person, in hand, you can really see a lot of, the dot matrix print look to it. But it doesn't look bad from far away or anything like that. Paint-wise, it's pretty good when it comes to, like, the purple of his mask, his cowl. It's fairly clean, not the cleanest. And then you can see, right, like under his chin, it's probably not the best in there. But it's not terrible by any means. The hair gets a little bit of a nice wash in there, a dark green wash in there to kind of bring out the details of the hair. That is pretty cool. It does swivel around. Comes to a little curl at the end there. The cape is stuck on there, so you're not going to get the cape off. He's got the collar piece in there. But the cape is not going to come off. It is formed and flowing like so. It's got some shadows in there. I don't think there's any paint or anything bringing out the shading of that cape. The inside is the same color as the outside, so no paint on there. We get the satchel. We get some gold buckles in there of the satchel as well as the strap. And that looks pretty good. You know, it's the same satchel I think that we've seen over and over again. One thing about it though is you're not going to be able to remove the satchel. So the satchel is always going to be with him because the cape is not going to be removable. There is a peg in the back for the cape, but you're not going to be able to get the cape off unless you can work it around the collar. I think it's kind of stuck in there pretty good. And I just now noticed this, but why is that look a little bit funky? I think that's supposed to be tucked in under that collar. maybe that's why. But that was kind of ugly looking, so you gotta just kind of tuck it back, and then maybe work that. See, look. Okay, so that collar piece pegs into his back as well, but then the cape. Let's plug that cape in there. And that should sit at that collar a little bit better. But again, then the satchel is completely non-removable. Talking about the hand. See, the hand looks really small, right? And the problem is because it's a big-ass glove. So it just makes the hand look small and weird, in my opinion. It's probably fairly normal. Like if the glove wasn't there and you just had the hand, it'd probably be okay. But it just looks kind of weird. And then he's got these big-ass boots, too. It just kind of flare out and everything like that. He is fully pinless. He's just wearing like a black bodysuit there. But he's got the matching purple for the satchel, collar, mask, boots, and gloves. So now let's go ahead and check out his articulation. Okay, so I had mentioned again the swivel on the head. For Whiplash's hair, the head, you can do a swivel in there. There's not really any pivot going on in there. He can look. Nope, pop that head right off. The collar is really going to kind of get in the way. The hair is not going to be the issue in getting him to look up. It's just that collar piece kind of comes up and he doesn't have much of a neck. I mean, from the front, right, it looks completely natural, but because the cape and the collar take up so much space, he has a hard time really looking up. He can look down, no problem there, which is normal. The shoulder you can get to go out a little bit. The problem is the way the cape kind of drapes over the shoulder, you can't really get it up as much as it should be able to. You typically would be able to do a full rotation in there, but the cape is really going to get in the way. You got that upper bicep swivel in there. Double jointed elbow gives you a little bit more than 90 degrees, as you can see there. Wrist swivel, and they do hinge. Standard horizontal hinge on all the hands, the fists and the grip hands. And again, I wish it would have had vertical hinge for the whip. We got an ab crunch in there, so Whiplash can crunch forward that much. He can go back, but that cape is definitely going to be an issue, of course. You got a waist swivel in there, and then here's definitely a problem. The legs go out that far apart. That's like nothing. And I don't know why that's going to be the case. Why it's extremely limited that way. I don't know if it's a combination of these hip pieces and that hip part, the high upper thigh and the hip piece. I don't know why, but that's like nothing. And I know is it the Spider UK buck? I don't know if these legs are kind of very similar, but a pinless version of those were pretty limited, and this might be that. But man, that's just super limited. He can kick forward very high though, so that's great. And then the leg doesn't really go back. You got an upper thigh cut in there, double jointed pinless knee, gives you that much bend at the knee. There is a swivel at that boot, as you can see, which is good. Foot hinges all the way down, like all the way. You get some hinge up, but there's some wrinkles in the boot that the top of the foot's going to hit, so it's going to hinder a little bit. And then you got ankle pivot and peg holes at the bottom of the feet. So he has okay articulation. The cape, again, limits the shoulders. The hip is very limiting, but the ab is pretty good. To go there, but again, it's just like getting him to lean and stretch out in certain poses and things like that was a little difficult for me. But also, I am a complete amateur when it comes to posing around, so it could just be a fault of mine not being able to best get him into poses. One other thing that I think this figure could have benefited from, so not only with the vertical hinge would be better for a whip, I think better grip hands would have been better too, because these don't grip real nice. Like you could see he's got a loose grip and it just doesn't hold in there exactly the way you would want it to do. The right is okay, the left is actually even worse. It just doesn't hold very tight, like at all, and I just wish that it would hold tighter, and why I'm having the most amount of trouble getting this into his hand right now, I don't know. But it just, as you could see, and part of it's going to be because the weight of the whip itself, right? As you could see, it's even bending. But because, like, if you put it like straight in his hand, like a straight grip, it's just going to fall due to the weight of the whip. So it's unfortunate. Yeah, the weight of the whip is definitely a problem, when trying to get him around and holding it, like it's ready to fall out of his hand completely. As you can see, it's just, he's losing the grip on there. The whip itself is really cool. I like it, but the hand is just not good enough to do it. And even still, if it were, because it's very rubbery, it would droop down. So if you want to get him stuck in a pose like this, eventually this thing is just going to flop down like crazy. Okay, so that is the review of the Whiplash figure. This is the Mark Scarlotti. Am I pronouncing that correct? I may be butchering Scarlotti version. An Anton Vanko version I think would be really cool looking. Maybe one day we'll get that, but instead we have this nice classic version of Whiplash, which is pretty cool. So here is the wave so far: the Iron Man Model 20, the She-Hulk figure, and the Whiplash. I think Whiplash is probably going to be a little bit better than Count Nefaria because of I think Whiplash is just a little bit more recognizable. You know, when you look back at the animated series, I don't remember much of the show. Yes, I did watch it, but I truly don't remember much. Now, I know Whiplash was in it. What's his name? Blizzard was also in it. There was another classic villain. I think it was, what's that? He was in green. Why can't I think of his name right now? I can't think of his name. He's got the saw blades on his wrists. Whirlwind. So kind of now fits in with that. So if you have the Blizzard from before, if you have the Whirlwind figure from before, you now have you can now add in Whiplash to do like Iron Man animated series stuff. The colors aren't exact, but hey, it could work out for you. So you guys let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of this Whiplash figure? What do you think of the waves so far? Let me know down in the comments below. If you guys like this video, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching. Make sure to check out ToySnowman.com for all your action figure needs.